Every revolution in drag racing began with someone willing to challenge what everyone else accepted. In the early 1960s, factory stockers were becoming faster every season. Supercharged dragsters were already thrilling crowds across America, but there was still nothing that combined the brutal power of a fuel dragster with the familiar shape of an American production car. Then one racer decided to build exactly that. Jack Chrisman's Mercury Comet didn't invent the funny car by itself. Other racers were experimenting with similar ideas at about the same time. But Chrisman's Comet became one of the first cars to truly capture the imagination of fans and racers alike, helping launch what would soon become one of the drag racing's most exciting classes. There's one detail that's often misunderstood about the famous machine. Many enthusiasts talk about the 1964 Comet and the 1965 Comet as though they were two completely separate race cars. They weren't. What began as a white 1964 Mercury Comet evolved into the famous candy apple red 1965 version through a series of major modifications. It was the same car, transformed as Jack Chrisman searched for more speed and better performance. This is the story of that remarkable evolution, and of the driver whose experience behind the wheel made it possible. Long before anyone associated Jack Chrisman's name with Mercury, he had already earned a reputation as one of drag racing's most respected competitors. Born in 1928, Chrisman was the youngest of 13 children. During the hardships of the Dust Bowl, his family left Oklahoma and settled in Southern California, where hot rodding was quickly becoming part of the region's culture. Like so many young enthusiasts of the era, Chrisman was drawn to speed almost immediately. His first well-known race car was a beautifully prepared Ford Model A Tudor, powered by a Chrysler Hemi. It wasn't just fast, it reflected the careful craftsmanship and attention to detail that would define Chrisman's entire career. Racing also ran deep in the family. His older brother Everett was the father of future drag racers Art and Lloyd Chrisman, making Jack their uncle. Together, the Chrisman family would leave a lasting mark on the sport. As Jack's reputation grew, so did the opportunities. Before long, he was being hired to drive some of the quickest supercharged dragsters in America for names like Chuck Jones, Howard Cams, Mickey Thompson, and others. At a time when few people had the skill, or the courage, to handle these increasingly powerful machines, Chrisman became one of the sport's most trusted drivers. In 1961, he drove the first dragster to break into the 8-second zone, a remarkable achievement during drag racing's formative years. The following season brought another milestone. Driving Mickey Thompson's Pontiac Hemi-powered AA fuel dragster, Chrisman captured top eliminator at the 1962 NHRA U.S. Nationals in Indianapolis, one of the sport's most prestigious victories. By the time Mercury came looking for a driver to represent its factory racing program, Jack Chrisman wasn't simply another talented racer. He was one of the most experienced fuel dragster drivers in America. And that experience would soon lead him to build a race car unlike anything fans had ever seen. For the 1964 racing season, Mercury was looking to strengthen its presence in NHRA competition. Mercury racing manager Fran Hernandez arranged for Jack Chrisman to receive one of only 22 lightweight Mercury Comet hardtops, specially constructed by Dearborn Steel Tubing, built specifically for competition. These lightweight Comets were powered by Ford's formidable 427 cubic inch V8 and were intended to compete in the NHRA's A Factory experimental class. On paper, it seemed like the perfect combination. Mercury had one of its most accomplished drivers behind the wheel of one of its most competitive factory race cars. There was just one problem. After years of driving supercharged fuel dragsters capable of nearly 180 miles per hour, Chrisman found the Comet surprisingly tame. Running around 120 miles per hour, the lightweight Mercury simply couldn't deliver the excitement or the performance he had become accustomed to. Fortunately, Mercury had another objective. Hernandez wanted a machine that could compete with the increasingly popular Dragmaster Dodge Chargers, a touring exhibition team campaigning supercharged Dodge sedans that were drawing huge crowds wherever they appeared. Instead of building another conventional factory race car, Chrisman proposed something far more radical. Rather than adapting dragster technology to fit within existing rules, He would take virtually an entire fuel dragster drivetrain and install it beneath the body of a Mercury Comet. It was an idea that ignored conventional thinking. Drawing heavily from his years behind the wheel of fuel rails, Chrisman transformed the lightweight Mercury into something that no longer fit comfortably into any existing category. It still looked remarkably like a production automobile, but underneath, it had far more in common with nitromethane burning dragster than anything rolling off a Detroit assembly line. Without realizing it, Jack Chrisman was helping create a completely new type of race car. At first glance, spectators saw what appeared to be a Mercury Comet sitting in the staging lanes. Look a little closer, however, and the difference began to reveal themselves. Hidden beneath the hood was a 427 cubic inch Ford high-riser V8 topped with a massive GMC 671 supercharger and fed by a Hillborn mechanical fuel injection system. Instead of gasoline, the engine burned highly volatile nitromethane fuel supplied by a cam-driven fuel pump. The radiator had disappeared entirely, replaced by a 3-gallon Moon fuel tank occupying the space at the front of the engine compartment. According to magazine reports from the period, the camshaft and valve train remained factory high-riser components, demonstrating just how much Mercury performance hardware still lived inside the unconventional machine. Helping bring Chrisman's vision to life was Bill Strope and Associates, the well-known Long Beach race shop that assisted with the Comet's body and chassis modifications. The drivetrain reflected Chrisman's dragster background even more clearly. There was no transmission. Power traveled directly from the engine to the familiar Ford 9-inch rear axle, using a direct drive, high-gear-only arrangement that was standard practice in fuel dragsters of the era. Everything about the car was designed for one purpose: accelerate as hard as possible in a straight line. Yet despite everything hidden underneath, the Mercury still retained much of its factory appearance. That contrast would become one of the car's greatest attractions. Fans weren't just watching another dragster. They were watching something that looked almost like a production automobile unleash the violence of a fuel rail, and many had never seen anything like it before. One of the most remarkable things about Jack Chrisman's Comet was that it didn't fit into any existing category of drag racing. It wasn't a factory stocker. It wasn't a dragster. And it wasn't quite what would later become a funny car. It was something entirely new. From the outside, the Mercury still looked surprisingly close to a production automobile. That was intentional. Chrisman wanted spectators to recognize a car they saw on the street before it roared to life on nitromethane. Step inside, and the illusion continued. Much of the interior remained unmistakably Mercury. The factory dashboard, steering column, and even the door panels were still in place, giving the cockpit an appearance far more civilized than the race car actually was. Only a few clues hinted at what the Comet had become. A single fiberglass racing seat replaced the factory bench. A Moon hydraulic throttle pedal handled the engine's enormous power. At the rear of the car, a Carter parachute waited to help bring the Mercury safely to a stop after each run. Perhaps the most unusual feature was the Hurst shifter. It looked exactly like a floor shifter found in countless performance cars of the era. But because the Comet had no transmission, the lever wasn't shifting gears at all. It operated the brakes. That simple detail perfectly illustrated what Chrisman had built. This wasn't a modified street car. It was a fuel dragster wearing Mercury sheet metal. As unique as the Comet was, sanctioning bodies struggled to figure out exactly where it belonged. At NHRA national events, it was generally classified as a B-fuel dragster, even though it clearly wasn't a dragster in the traditional sense. Most of the time, however, Chrisman wasn't racing within a strict class structure. The Comet found its home in match races and exhibition events, where promoters wanted one thing above all else: cars that could fill the grandstands. Running on fuel blends containing as much as 98% nitromethane, the Comet produced a spectacle unlike almost anything fans had witnessed before. By modern standards, its performance figures might seem modest. The car typically covered the quarter mile in the mid-10-second range at approximately 145 miles per hour. But numbers alone don't tell the story. What captivated audiences was how the car behaved. The Mercury launched with the aggression of a fuel dragster while still wearing the body of what looked like a factory hardtop. The supercharged engine thundered down the strip, the rear tires fought for traction, and the entire car seemed barely contained by the laws of physics. Spectators had seen fast cars before. They had seen fuel dragsters, but very few had witnessed a machine that blended the appearance of production automobile with the raw violence of a nitro-burning rail. There were a handful of other experimental cars pushing similar ideas. The Mooneyhand and Sharp 554 fuel coupe and the Dragmaster Dodge Chargers among them. But Chrisman's Comet stood out as one of the clearest demonstrations this new concept had a future. No one knew exactly what to call these machines. The name funny car hadn't yet entered the drag racing vocabulary. But something important was happening. Fans loved what they were seeing. Promoters wanted more of it. And across drag strips throughout America, a new chapter in drag racing history was quietly beginning. By the end of the 1964 season, Jack Chrisman had already proven that his Mercury Comet was unlike anything else on the drag strip. But he wasn't finished. Instead of building an entirely new race car for 1965, Chrisman and his team chose a different path. They transformed the very same Comet. Over the years, many fans have assumed the white 1964 Comet and the famous candy apple red 1965 Comet were two separate cars. And they weren't. The car that had turned heads throughout 1964 simply evolved into an even more radical machine for the following season. The changes began with its appearance. The 1964 body panels were replaced with Mercury's new 1965 styling, giving the car a fresher look while preserving the same underlying chassis. The refrigerator white paint disappeared beneath a brilliant candy apple red finish that quickly became one of the most recognizable paint schemes in drag racing. But the most important changes were hidden beneath the body. The original 427 high-riser engine was replaced by Ford's new 427 SOHC, the legendary Cammer. With its single overhead camshaft design and tremendous horsepower potential, it represented the cutting edge of Ford's performance engineering. Chrisman didn't simply install a more powerful engine. He repositioned it dramatically farther back in the chassis. Instead of sitting ahead of the driver as it had before, the front of the engine was now located almost directly beneath the windshield. Moving the engine rearward improved weight distribution and gave the rear tires more of the load they needed for traction during hard launches. To complement the new engine location, the factory front suspension was discarded altogether. In its place went a lightweight tubular beam axle, trimming unnecessary weight from the nose of the car while improving the overall balance. Every major change had one goal: put more weight over the rear tires, make the car accelerate harder, and make it even more competitive. The transformation was immediately successful. Now wearing its striking red paint and carrying even more power, Chrisman's Comet became one of the most exciting exhibition cars in America. Performance improved dramatically. The once mid-10-second Comet was now running solidly in the mid-8-second range with speeds exceeding 160 miles per hour. Just as impressive as the numbers was the way the Mercury delivered them. Launching with tremendous force, the supercharged SOHC engine often overpowered the rear tires, leaving the Comet smoking and sliding much of the way down the quarter mile. It behaved less like a factory-based race car and more like a AA fuel dragster that just happened to wear Mercury sheet metal. Crowds couldn't get enough of it. The combination of familiar styling, incredible horsepower, and spectacular tire smoking runs made Chrisman's Comet one of the biggest attractions wherever it appeared. It also demonstrated something that racers across the country were beginning to realize. There was enormous entertainment value in cars that looked like production automobiles, but performed like fuel dragsters. Within another year or two, dozens of builders and drivers would begin following the same formula. These unconventional machines would soon have a name. They would be called funny cars. And Jack Chrisman's evolving Mercury Comet had helped show the sport exactly what that future could look like. More than 60 years after it first shocked spectators, Jack Chrisman's Mercury Comet still holds a special place in drag racing history. Remarkably, the car survives today and occasionally appears at nostalgia drag racing events, giving new generations of fans the opportunity to see one of the machines that helped change the sport forever. Its survival is fitting. The Comet wasn't simply another successful race car. It represented a turning point. By combining the appearance of a factory hardtop with the heart of a nitromethane burning fuel dragster, Chrisman demonstrated a formula that countless racers would soon adopt. Within only a few years, Funny Cars had grown from a handful of experimental machines into one of drag racing's premier professional categories. The cars would continue to evolve. Fiberglass bodies replaced steel. Flip-top bodies became the standard. Chassis grew longer, safer, and more sophisticated. Horsepower climbed from the hundreds into the thousands. Yet the basic idea remained the same. Take the unmistakable shape of an American production car and give it the soul of a fuel dragster. That idea can be traced directly back to pioneering machines like Jack Chrisman's Comet. Jack Chrisman wasn't finished after the Mercury Comet. Over the years, he continued to own, build, and drive several memorable drag racing machines before he retired from competition in 1972. Throughout his career, he earned the respect of fellow racers, not only for his driving ability, but also for his willingness to innovate. Whether behind the wheel of a fuel dragster or helping develop entirely new concepts, Chrisman consistently found himself at the forefront of the sport's evolution. He passed away in 1989 at the age of 61, leaving behind a legacy that reached far beyond race wins and elapsed times. In 2001, the National Hot Rod Association recognized that impact by naming Jack Chrisman number 23 on its list of the 50 greatest drag racers of all time during the organization's 50th anniversary celebration. It was an honor that reflected not just what he accomplished, but what he inspired. Today, funny cars are among the fastest and most recognizable machines in all of motorsports. Their bodies may flip forward, their engines produce more than 11,000 horsepower, and they cover the quarter mile in just a few breathtaking seconds. But every revolution has a beginning. Long before funny cars had a name, Jack Chrisman looked at an ordinary Mercury Comet and imagined something no one else had seen before. He didn't set out to invent a new class of race car. He simply wanted to build something faster, more exciting, and unlike anything already on the drag strip. In doing so, he helped create one of drag racing's greatest traditions. Sometimes the cars that change history aren't the ones built to follow the rules. They're the ones that make everyone realize the rules are about to change.